Hello, everybody. I wanted to hop on really quick to say hello and to check on all of you to see how you are doing and how the semester is going. One of the parts that I dislike about online classes is I don't get to see all of you all the time. So I feel like we don't always get that face to face connection. So I definitely want to check in on you and just make sure that everything is going okay, and to let you know to please reach out to me if it's not. If you have any questions or concerns about this class or any of your other classes, please let me know so that I can help you. This module, we are focusing on accepting personal responsibility. And this is a really great module. It's kind of one of those that I feel like is a foundation for a lot of other things. So I feel like if you are lacking in personal responsibility, you're going to struggle in a lot of other things, a lot of other areas that are important for you as a student. So it's really crucial that you build those skills that you need to be responsible. And I think sometimes when we use the word responsible, we just think of it in terms of like, I have to do something. Like, I'm responsible for picking up my brother from school. I'm responsible for getting groceries or whatever the case may be. But responsibility also ties into our choices. It ties into the way that we speak to ourselves and to others. It ties into our goals and kind of how we reach those. So there's a lot of other aspects of responsibility besides just kind of what we think of in that terms of, I need to be a responsible person. So that's what this module is going to focus on. One of your tasks is to go through the SWAY, which is similar to a PowerPoint, but a little bit different of a format, and to really focus on these main points. And so the very first slide focuses on the difference between a successful student and a struggling student when it comes to personal responsibility. So these three things are under successful students. This is what you need to focus on, and this is what you need to build for yourself as a person. The first one is having a creator mindset. And this talks about believing that you have the power to change your outcome, and that you have choice. And I know sometimes when we talk about creator mindset versus victim mindset, a lot of times I'll have students say, well, there are situations where we truly are a victim. There's things that happen to us that we don't have control over. We may be robbed, or there may be our house catches on fire, or things like that. And so that's not what I'm talking about. I do recognize, obviously, that in our human experience, there are true situations that we're victims. What I'm focusing on is just your everyday mindset and how you approach life in general, and making sure that you're looking at it from the mindset of a creator, that you do have control over those things. You do have the ability to make choices. So even if you get in a situation where you may not be able to change the parameters of it. You may be, obviously when you're in a class, you can't control or change how the instructor is teaching. When you have a job, you may not be able to control or change things that you don't like in terms of the job or your boss. But within that, you can control your own attitude. You can control the way you respond to those things that are going on around you. So it's really important that you try to be more of a creator and less of a victim when it comes to those everyday circumstances. One of the things that's really going to be important as a part of that is having creator language. And again, sometimes students say, this doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how I think. If I'm having internal dialogue in my own head about a situation, what does it matter what language I use or how I talk? It's okay if I'm negative. It's okay if I'm negative towards myself, or I think negative thoughts. The reality of that is, it's not, because even if we think, oh, I'm talking to myself, it's not like I'm being this way towards anyone else. You're putting down kind of the main important person in your life, which is you. And so the way that you talk to yourself does have an impact in the language that you use. And definitely we know that the language we use towards others has an impact on our relationship with them, has an impact on how we interact with each other. So part of the module is going to focus on how do we use creator language? What does that even mean? What does creator language look like? And how can we use it more? I will tell you from a personal standpoint, this is something I really feel like I have struggled with my whole life. I have never had good self confidence. When I was in high school and even in college, I was always down on myself, like always. I mean, it did not matter how well I did at something or what I achieved. It was always kind of like, what could I have done better? Or, someone else is stronger than me, someone else is smarter than me, someone else is this or that. And so I've always had struggles with self-confidence. And I realized as I got older that the way that I spoke to myself, the way that I thought about myself, did have an impact on me being able to reach my goals. It was getting in the way. And the other thing I realized is that sometimes that came out in negative or bad ways in my relationships with other people. I was putting myself down. Like, clearly your own family or friends or significant other, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear you, treating yourself poorly or being down on yourself. They want you to build confidence. They want you to see yourself the way that they see you. And so that was something that I really, really had to work on. And I'm still a work in progress, I would say, but it's definitely a skill that I've gotten better with over the years. And it takes practice, especially if you don't have high self-confidence and you are kind of used to getting down on yourself. You have to work at this. You have to build this skill. The other part of this is often if you have more of a victim mindset, or you let yourself be more of a victim, you do sometimes play the blame game, where you are blaming other people, where it's always someone else's fault. It's always the teacher's fault. It's always my coworker's fault. If they would just change the way they're doing it, if the circumstances were just different, then I wouldn't be in the boat that I'm in. And so part of that creative language is also how we think and talk about other people. So not just automatically going to that blame where it's your fault. If you would just act this way, or if you would just say this or do this, then things would be better for me. It's okay. I can't necessarily control the other person. I can't control what they're saying and doing, but I can control how I respond to it and how I treat them. So, again, it takes practice to kind of turn your mindset around. And then the last part of being a successful student within personal responsibility is making wise decisions and really looking at that decision process. I think, again, this just depends on your background. This depends on how you were raised in terms of if these are skills that you were really taught. If you had a guardian or a parent or a significant adult in your life that really taught you, like, when you have to make important decisions, here's how you do it. You want to really look at that decision. You want to weigh all your options. You want to look at potential consequences. What are positive outcomes? What are negative outcomes? And you want to work through this whole, kind of internal process before you make the decision. And then you move forward. Or if you didn't have that, you might have been taught, or just from watching other adults in your life, you might just make snap decisions because that's what you've been taught, or that's what you've seen growing up, that you don't need to weigh your options. You don't need to look at different things. It's just, you're going to go with whatever you think is right in the moment and then have to deal with consequences later. So we're really going to look at how to make conscious, wise choices. And again, sometimes students say, okay, I know how to make decisions at this point. I'm an adult. I have kids. I have responsibilities. Like, I know what it is to make a decision. And I agree with that. I think we all know what it is to make a decision, but I definitely think, even if you don't realize it, how you were taught or how you were influenced, or maybe the direction that decisions have gone for you in the past has really influenced how you continue with that decision-making process. And if you've gotten in a rut where you make very short choices without looking at long-term consequences, and that is not working out for you, we need to change that around. We need to look at different strategies and skills that you can use to make wise choices. So these are the three main things that we want to get out of this unit. And what we're going to focus on. As you go through the sway, it's going to focus on those aspects. And so you're really going to look at the difference between a victim and a creator. You're going to look at what are some characteristics. So for those of you who have never used a sway before, any of this that has a little square next to it is interactive, so you can click through it. So you're going to click through all these flashcards that give you kind of different definitions. I've given you an infographic here that really breaks down what is the difference between a creator and a victim. And so, really read through that and pay attention to those and try to identify yourself a little bit. I think at any different point in our lives, we can sometimes fall into the victim mindset. I think that is normal. We are human. And I know I have before too. I always say that overall, I feel like I've done a good job of making myself into a creator in my everyday life, but I'm human, and man, sometimes the stress gets me. I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'm scared. And so I may fall into that victim mindset and kind of, maybe throw a little bit of a pity party for myself, or just can't move forward. And I'm just stuck, kind of like, I don't see any other options. How am I going to get out of this? Or, blaming other people for what's happening to me. And so we can all fall into that mindset every once in a while, and that is human. But if you are living your life in that mindset and you feel like every day you're coming from a victim point of view, we've got to change that around. You have to really take a minute and evaluate yourself and say, yeah, I think this is me. Like, I feel like I do this a lot. And if that's the case, how can we change that? How can we start to use new language and a new mindset to change that around for you? The middle part of this is going to talk about that. Okay, what is creator language? How do I change that around? And so you're going to look at 3 different voices that we use in our everyday talking. And so you're going to look at the inner critic and who the inner critic is and what that voice looks like. You're going to look at the inner defender, and then you're going to look at the inner guide. And so those are kind of the 3 voices that we look at when we talk and to ourselves and to others. And then there's a short video here that just gives some more explanation about those voices and kind of how to identify them. And again, I would encourage you to identify, where do you fall? Do you feel like you're always the inner critic? Do you feel like you have a lot of inner defender in you? Where are you falling, so that you can kind of make choices to consciously turn that around. Okay, so this module has a lot of information in it. It is jam-packed with really great information and strategies on responsibility. And so please let me know if you have any questions or concerns or anything you want to talk to me about one-on-one, so I can help you develop some strategies if you're really struggling with responsibility. There is another PowerPoint in the module for you in the additional resources folder if you want to go through that PowerPoint as well. And then also there is an extra credit opportunity for this module. Right now it is not working correctly. I was just told today by a student that it's not showing up, so I have to go in there and get that fixed. But there is an extra credit where you can kind of look at a real life scenario of a college student and the choices that were made, and kind of try to work through that and figure out what could have been done differently for a better outcome. So you will have the opportunity to earn some extra credit with that as well. So hopefully this helped you. This little video helped you a little bit, just kind of get your head around the module. Hopefully by now you've already read the chapter and you've kind of been doing your mind tap and getting started on that. But if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay? Have a great rest of your night. Bye.